Performative confidence versus real confidence. This is going to kind of be a reflection where I call out my past self, but with grace and with compassion, because a lot of times we do what we can to get to where we're going. You know, we do it in whatever capacity, just take that first step, right? And then it kind of catapults us into the path. And so one thing I want to talk about is this is going to be separated into 3 sections: signals, the unknown, and then interactions. So the external signals of confidence versus the internal. When I'm trying to think of where to start here exactly. I mean, just for context, I was bullied in elementary school and had a hard time in middle school and sometimes even had a hard time in high school. But over that period of time, I had slowly found my people and slowly found my creative outlets that resonated with me most. And for me, that was music, the music department stuff, theater, band, and choir, all 3 of them for years. And so as I was coming into myself, and this especially hit in high school, because remember I said elementary school was like kind of really bad, and then at the very tail end of it, I met my best friend who actually helped me come into myself a lot. So forever grateful for her. And then middle school, it was still kind of because like there were some, and hey, as a feminine, I'll say this as a detail just in case it helps somebody. It may have contributed to some of the wounds I had to heal later in life, because I would have crushes on guys that were like out of my league or in like a different friend group, right? And I was bullied for that. Their whole friend group came after me whenever that happened, and it was not a fun time. So there's that. And then in high school, just like drama, I guess. So that's what made it not great. And so if we can take the context of like, hey, I had found my people very strongly and I was in these music programs in a very established way in high school. Because of that foundation, I was able to step into this higher embodiment of like my confidence journey. And so one of those ways that I expressed that was with fashion. I had phases, I would say, when I was in my younger years in high school. It was very much the 1920s and 1950s. And then the tail end, it was more like the Instagram baddie kind of modern aesthetics. But while this was all going on, I mean, I would get compliments from friends and strangers alike everywhere I went, even outside of school, because of just the way that I dressed and presented myself. They would say, "Oh my gosh, you're so confident. Oh my gosh, I want to be like you." And even though that made me feel warm inside and made me feel good, like, oh, maybe this is cool and I'm resonating with people and it's inspiring or whatever, I want to say that my internal world wasn't amazing. Even though my external looked a certain way, it was kind of, in some ways, and again, saying this with so much love to my old self, it was kind of a cover-up. I was trying so hard to put off a certain energy that I did not feel on the inside. And so with that in mind, I was rushing. I was engaging with some negative self-talk. My default was actually negative. Now, after years of work and professional help, thankfully it is a default of positive, but that took a lot of work. At this point in time I'm describing, in the past, it was very much the default of the negative. And then my routine, I did what I thought I should do. I lived my life in accordance to the path that was kind of laid out for me, especially in the Western American world, of like those milestones of like, okay, do really well in school so that you get into a good college, so that you have a good job, and then eventually you get married and have kids and all that. Like, that's how things should go. And I realized that after high school, that I officially started my spiritual journey. And I learned about what confidence was on a deeper level. And what's cool is that not only did I go through that journey with my self-talk, but I also realized what parts of me were wounded and how I was living unaligned with my authenticity and my heart and my soul expression. And that is what helped me, like, no matter what I'm wearing on the outside, right? Because it started with the fashion all those years ago. No matter what I'm wearing, I can feel just as confident, just as legitimate, just as worthy, no matter what. Rather than my worthiness and my worth and kind of this external image being what makes that or creates that, like, as long as other people believe it, right? As long as people think that I am solid and good and so confident and so hot, you know, then that's all that matters. I didn't have to feel that for myself, because at that point, I had yet to engage in that deeper wound healing and that deeper trauma healing from my experiences in the past across multiple categories. And so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And so the next section here of the unknown, I think a huge indicator of authentic, true confidence is the ability to go out somewhere new. I'm sorry, my cats are like my roommate's cats. I said my cats because I love them and they are here at this house and I love them, but they're like being crazy out there. So if you heard something, they're just playing. But the ability to go out somewhere new and be present, because of my healing journey, it was originally this thing of, oh, I'm just having fun and I'm just exploring and living life. But it took me a little bit to realize, holy crap, this is actually really kind of risky and confident and cool of me to do that. Because I would tell my friends about it and they would say to me, what? How did you do that? I could never do that. Oh, that's so scary. And I was just thinking this whole time, well, it sounded fun. I just wanted to do it. Like, I didn't really think much of it. But I'm like, holy crap, no, that's something to celebrate. To be able to exist someplace, I didn't know how strong that was in our society. I mean, not only talking to my friends, but hearing other people talk about it that I don't know personally. You know, that urge to be on your phone when you're waiting somewhere, or the urge to go to some festival or to some event with a friend or with your partner, never going alone because you don't want to just be awkward standing somewhere or not knowing what to do or whatever. I think the biggest things I've done was I studied abroad by myself. And by myself, I mean, I didn't know anybody in my program from my school going to the same place in the same program. When I got there, my roommates were from different schools that I didn't know. A lot of the people who study abroad that I heard of had gathered a group of their friends at the same school and like, hey, let's sign up for this together so that we can room together and we can have this experience together. Total like sitcom TV show moment, right? It's like, this is our season where we are in this place, or this is our filler episode where we're like here doing this fun stuff or whatever, you know? I didn't do that. I wanted to go to Florence, Italy, which I had a lot of cool spiritual experiences there, and it was such a beautiful time. I'll go ahead and link that video down in the description so you can check it out. Talk about all my supernatural paranormal experiences there with spirits and some of the history too, So anyway, that's one thing. And then another thing I did was I signed up for a fantasy ball event, and I went to a different state for it. I know some people who have gone like overseas, but that was a little too expensive. So I was able to stay with a family member near the location of the event, thankfully. I didn't have to get a hotel or anything. I could stay with family and have that familiarity at least. I wasn't like completely alone, but at the event I was. So I made my costume, like I got all dressed up, and I went to this fantasy, like luxury ball experience where most people were there with friends or with partners. And there were some of us who were there by ourselves, and we like kind of connected with each other, which was fun. But yeah, I was one of those people that went by themselves. And so that was kind of a big deal. I mean, going to something that I had spent time making my costume for, and it was like this luxury experience, and I had to like fly out from where I was living at the time and go there. It was kind of a whole thing. And so don't discount the things that you might think are small, because they could actually be big things. And that is an indicator that your internal state is so solid that you can exist and be anywhere and still, like, you can enjoy yourself. You can be present. You can not be micromanaging your actions or your thoughts or what other people might be like thinking about you, you know? And so the final section here of how you talk and interact with others. So I can say that at the beginning of my confidence journey, the way that it started was, you think about the words that you use, the tone of voice that you use, and what you say. And in the beginning, in the past, I people pleased a lot and I trauma dumped. So there's a couple of things going on there, right? With the people pleasing, I have a whole separate video about fawning too, which I can also link down below in the description. I like it. It's a good video. But my tone of voice and the way that I carried myself, I would speak in a higher, softer pitch. I would be more animated. I would be so smiley and like nod my head a lot as they were talking and stuff. And that was me trying to help myself feel more comfortable in this situation by thinking that I was making them feel more comfortable because I wasn't the most confident in myself. Does that make sense? And so the other side to that is, like I was kind of saying, the trauma dumping. So in an effort to connect, to establish some kind of closeness or intimacy or trust with the other person, if something had come up that I could relate to, something I had been through, and by the way, this is something that a lot of people have talked about, a lot of people have done. So again, so much compassion for my previous self, but it's an effort to feel more comfortable and to feel closer to the person where, like I said, you find something they say and then relate it to your own experience. I think in some ways people try to have it be so that these experiences aren't as taboo, right? But there's a time and place, I think, when it's like one granule of a similarity, when it's not really what you're talking about. And so, again, it came from that place of, oh, I need to feel like this person is closer to me right now. Otherwise, I just, like, your internal world isn't solid, it isn't comfortable, it isn't stable. And so then, as I worked on myself, it's interesting because it evolved out of that. But then it turned into, this is the thing specifically, I would almost always tell a new person I met that I was a medium right away. To have something interesting, not only interesting to talk about, but something I could confidently talk about. Like, oh, because usually when I say that to people, it's always like all the questions come to me and they're all questions I've answered before. And so it's like, not only would I want to establish like interest, I would want them to be interested in me, but I rehearsed those same answers like so many times. And so, oh my goodness, when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, how are you approaching any conversation with any person? Are you trauma dumping? Are you people pleasing automatically? Are you finding that special fun fact about yourself and using it as kind of a launching pad, which, depending on the situation, that's fine, you know? If I were to do that, like for my example specifically, if I were to do that at like a spiritual expo or a place where there are spiritual people or whatever, then that would kind of make sense in the, like, as you're introducing yourself to people, to be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, we're at the spiritual event, and you have this cool booth where you're saying you're a healer and stuff. Well, I'm a medium. You know, it's like, that makes sense. But to have it just be like everyday conversations about like, you know, kind of casual 3D physical world stuff, and then be like, oh, by the way, I'm a medium. Like, you know, it's like, so yeah, I think that's everything I kind of wanted to talk about in this video. I'm wishing you all the best on your confidence journey. If you clicked on this video looking for answers or insights, or just personal stories even to relate to, I hope that this was helpful. And be sure to check out those videos I referenced in the description, and also all my goodies in there. There's like links to my other socials and to my Etsy store in there. And I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.